Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. Which camera? This one. Episode 37. Paul, how are you?
Very well, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad, Matt. Not
Good.
bad. And very pleased to welcome Shirley Gallagher to the podcast. How are you, Shirley?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you for coming on, because we understand exactly how busy you are. Your time is very precious, so we really appreciate you coming on. Just before we get into the topics we're going to talk about, we're going to do rapid fire questions just to get to know you a little bit better. So what would be your takeaway option of choice?
Curry.
Any particular type? Hotter, spice?
Yeah, vegetable sambar, peshwari naan, aloo paratha, every time.
I mean, I'm not a big curry guy, so it means nothing to me.
Oh, it's nice. All sounds good to me. Yeah.
People joke if they go in a curry house with me, like, what's she going to have? Oh, is it a vegetable sambar?
And what's your favourite holiday destination? You could pick one to go to.
There's two. If you're going in hot weather, it'd have to be Italy, because you can't beat the Italians for culture, for family inclusion, for great food, scenery, artwork. But every single year we go to Arran without fail in the autumn. I love Arran. Yeah, I love Arran in Scotland.
Very nice.
Anna's one of Anna's favourite destinations is the Isle of Bute.
Is it? Oh, nice. Do you go around the distilleries as well, then? Yes. So does my husband and the driver.
Very nice. I've never been to Italy.
Great.
You've never been? Oh, you've got to go.
Yeah, I've never been. My partner has. She's been to Rome and Florence, but I've never been. On the list.
It's on the Amalfi Coast. Yeah.
Well, it's everything. There's the summer holidays, there's the skiing,
Yeah.
the shopping.
The Dolomites, yeah, that whole area. Oh, yeah.
Football as well, it's decent.
Football,
The shopping, yes, the shopping.
Yeah. And what's your...
Come on, Alex, move on.
What's your go-to streaming service at the minute? And what are you watching, if anything?
Gosh, I'm obsessed with Netflix because you can binge watch. So I like binge watching anything that's on Netflix. So, no judgment here, people at home, but I've just watched the whole Netflix thing about America's Top Model, which was the whole, like, let's look at it back and what it was really like, because it was quite a cringe fest at the time. So yeah, I love watching things on Netflix. Bridgerton, the new series of Bridgerton's dropped on there. And I love watching documentaries, any manner of documentaries on there. At the minute, there are no new ones apart from America's Next Top Model, because I've binge watched all of them.
Very good. Are you watching all at the minute? You like a good series, don't you, to get your teeth in there?
I can't say, mate, because you just laugh at me.
Go on.
I've said America's Next Top Model, so
I've
no
just
shame.
watched and take that documentary and I loved it.
I watched that one. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's your era, though, isn't it?
I love Take That, yeah.
It's your era.
No shame.
Never
forget where you're coming from. Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
And when we're not reenacting Take That, how do you like to unwind away from work?
I'm in a community choir.
Oh, you really?
Which I absolutely love. On Thursday, Jo, our choir teacher, it's like having Victoria Wood as your choir teacher, and she'll go, "Oh, we're a bit crap, ladies," sorry the language, you know what I mean, kind of thing. And we try and do singing and dancing routines, but it's essentially about a group of women. I know we joke, we're 40 until death, do you know what I mean? There's no up, and we do gig after gig after gig. So we've been on tour. We do Manchester Jazz Festival, where we rock up at any old piano and sing along. We've done suicide prevention fundraisers. We've been in competitions. We never pretend we're going to win anything, and we're a pop choir, so we just sing pop songs. Nice. So the moment we're learning Primal Screams, Moving On Up, you know what I mean, is one of our numbers, and we just get out of there and have a proper laugh. So I know it's on a Thursday night. I know that I'll be laughing my head off and being one of the loudest, because I've got a loud singing voice despite a quiet speaking voice, in altos, and having just the best time of our lives. And we just raise by lifting each other and just having a laugh.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
I like that, yeah.
I do like that. And if you could go back to 15-year-old Shirley...
Oh gosh, that's grim.
What piece of advice would you give yourself?
Oh gosh. Well, in the time, I was doing the best I can with the knowledge I had, which was generally going to school and coming home again and not leaving the house and leaving your bedroom. And because it was the 80s, you used to be able to come home at lunchtime. So I came home every lunchtime around the corner and just used to watch Rainbow. the neighbours, the Sullivans, and come back to school because I was 5 minutes round the corner, and then be straight home straight after school.
Well, neighbours was what, 25 minutes? It was done, wasn't
it was
so,
perfect.
You could easily get.
Yeah, 5 minutes, then you know what I mean? You could even fit in the Sullivans, just.
Brilliant.
But that's what I did, because that's what I was doing to survive. But I had already worked out that by then, because I had older brothers, if you could at least get your exams, then you could at least go to university. And if you went to university, you wouldn't have to see all the people who bully you all the time in the community and at school for being different. And you could try and do something different with your life. And so that's what I did. It was like, just do your studies, do your studies. I mean, I met some really nice people when I went to FE college, and some of them are still my friends now, you know what I mean? So hello, Lazar and Jenny, if you're listening online. And that was wonderful for me. But yeah, it was grim. It was grim. It was grim back then. Autistic girls didn't exist, and you weren't ladylike enough, and you didn't fit in enough. And you could just literally be walking the streets, and men would stop you and go, smile, you know, or you're never going to get a boyfriend when you were 15. You know, that kind of, it was a different world. So staying at home was a strategy that ultimately meant I got my studies done and I got out of Dodge City.
That's really interesting. So just a bit of background. I know we kind of touched on it a little bit there, but just a bit of background then from when you left school, kind of what you did, what's led you up to where you are now.
Yeah. So there was a very first degree course that was advertised, and it was only for 6 people. And my dad said to me, now, come on, love, there's only 6 places. It's the first year they've done it. You need to widen your net. And I remember saying to him, but there's got to be 6 people who were chosen. Why wouldn't it be me? So I'll apply. So I applied to that and others, and I got on the course. And I didn't know till I got there. It was like, oh, I'm the token poverty, northern, working class, bit different. Girl with Anna with a banner, what's she angry about this week? Do you know what I mean? That was me. Everyone else was frightfully middle class. And we had this year out where we went to the European Parliament in Brussels, which is a story for the grandchildren I know now, back when we were in the European Union. And then the rest of the year was in the House of Commons in London. And that weren't much cop either, because people would be like, oh, you're with the Labour Party. And I'd be like, but you're working for a Labour member? You know what I mean? As well. I'm like, oh, right. It's like, okay, I don't really fit. And then I kind of did that, did my degree, didn't know what I wanted to do work-wise, really struggled with getting a job. And I think I look back now and I go, oh yeah, I didn't really get what the interview questions were about. I didn't really get that. So I basically, and it is such an autistic thing to say, and I say this to everyone who's doing a PhD for fun. I'm like, are you really doing it for fun? Or are you part of my community because it's your Linus blanket and it's familiar? So I did a PhD, you do part-time. And I ultimately moved to Manchester, and I moved to Manchester for love because that's where my boyfriend was from. Not knowing it was going to work out. Hello, Pete, if you're watching at home. And I literally went, I'm not living with you because I don't know if we'll even get on. So I'll date you for 2 years. You know what I mean? You live over there, I'll live over here. And I did my PhD, and I worked in places like Wythenshawe Library. I worked at the university. I did some part-time lecturing. I used to cycle everywhere because I couldn't stand the smell of public transport, not knowing why. So I'd cycle for miles. I was about 2 stone wet through, do you know what I mean? So I was just permanently cycling everywhere. And ultimately, did some undergraduate jobs at the council, and while I was there was really inspired, thinking, wow, this people pride place and what this Howard Bernstein's trying to do is really interesting. And I think it will work, because my PhD was in democracy. I think it will work. Well done, Sir Howard, you know what I mean? I think this stuff will work. So I then did some work in the charity sector around Jubilee 2000, and working for Christian Aid for a couple of years, but you could see it wasn't going to lead to anything. So then there was a job, and I'd got my PhD by then, and I'm 28, so like most people don't, not really thinking, just thinking, oh, I got my PhD, why am I still not doing well at work? What's wrong with me? Try harder, because I didn't know any different. And then got a job at the council, and then never really looked back. And those first managers that I had, Keith Davis and Joe Dalton, they're still 2 of my best mates now. They've long since retired. But rather than going, oh, she's a bit weird and she doesn't really fit in and da-da-da, they were like, oh my God, she's really bright and she has some cracking ideas. We really like her. And, you know, and it was so intersectional and so different working in that environment. And I loved it, and I never looked back.
And 2 people that believed in you.
100% believed in me. And there was Jo, you know, Mancunian, born and bred, you know what I mean, big into workers' rights and working class roots. So she's just like, oh God, yeah, she can do it. She's really bright and blah, blah, blah. Keith, you know what I mean, he was from Wales, middle of nowhere, Welsh family, like the only gay in the village, the architect, moved to Manchester, met the beautiful Colin, if they're watching as well. Hi guys. They met on a blind date, they've been married forever since. So they knew difference, and they knew like people who were just like going, come on, I've got a great idea, crack on. And let's get on with doing a really good job for Mancunians, because we fundamentally had those core values in common, and that's what made a difference, was that belief and the culture. That's what makes a difference.
Sometimes it isn't it, Alex, just having someone to believe in you and want you to do well, and then you will, won't you? And you.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You're not having people going, oh, we're just waiting for you to fail so we can laugh.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's that kind of.
Having someone in your corner championing you makes a huge difference. Huge difference. So, I mean, if you could describe what you do now. I know you've got lots of fingers in lots of different pies, but what is it that's kind of led you now to where you are?
Yeah, so I'm an executive director of leadership and governance, which sounds posh, doesn't it? At Newbridge Multi-Academy Trust, which has over 2,000 learners over 3 local authority areas in Greater Manchester, so that's Oldham, Tameside and Rochdale. Youngest learners are 4, our oldest people are 34, because we've got an adult social care provision as well. And I kind of have different chunks to my job. So part of my job is the SEND world. So it's working with the combined authorities, mainstream schools, saying how can we do inclusion really, really well. Because what I did before this was I was an assistant director for SEND in a local authority. So I'm a SEND parent, I'm neurodivergent myself, I've worked in the local authority, I work a specialist sector, so I've got this 360-degree view. So part of that SEND world now is really thinking about what's in the new white paper coming down the line. How can I get the specialist sector ready for that? How can I get local authorities ready for that? And how can I make sure that we're doing the right things that work for families and are evidence-based, and not just give it to mainstream, some money, and it will magically work out. So that's a huge part of my job, especially moving forward. Another part is that we have 84 volunteers in the trust who are the trustees, the governors on our 8 governing boards and our members. And my job is to support their recruitment, retention, development and make sure we have really good governance in place. And I also lead on health interventions for the trust. And I also lead on a Greater Manchester piece of work around health interventions for all of the specialist school sector as well. So that's a chunk of it, but kind of a side hustle, which
a big chunk.
A big chunk. I like to be busy, but a big chunk of my other work has become around real campaigning around working skills. So my background is I'm autistic. Clearly, I was born this way, to quote Lady Gaga, and I'm unapologetic about that. But that was used. I was outed in a previous organisation in order to sabotage my career and shut me up, and it was horrific. And the context for that was the person who did this had gone out of the way at the very start of the pandemic to mock my father's death from COVID. Because you can remember that very first spring 6 years ago, where no one knew what the heck we were doing, did they? What day it was? No one knew what day it was.
I can't believe it's 6 years ago.
What was going on or anything like that. And in that context of chaos, and I didn't know if my dad was alive for 2 days, I couldn't go to his, I couldn't be part of his funeral other than doing a relayed thing from my car outside because I've got chronic lung disease. So yeah, in a long story short, I wasn't expecting anyone to go out of the way to mock that. And when I, like most women do, complained in that moment, nothing really happened. And I almost think that MAGA now are like my cultural reference point, the good news and the bad news, because a mob mobilised, let's get her. Shut her up, get her, shut her up, get her. I wasn't the only woman. I didn't know until way after the event that there were 8 other of us who were experiencing this kind of mobbing. But when they found out I was autistic, it was like they had the Willy Wonka golden ticket. Great, finish her off now. And in that, guys, where I was not in a fit state to, I just went, yes, I am autistic. Wouldn't recommend anyone at home does this. Email the entire organisation and partners, hi, I'd just like you to know I'm autistic, thank you very much. Boom. And I outed myself at a system level to go, come for me now. You're coming for me now on that basis. Really, you've scraped the blah, 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 blah. Here I am. And what I didn't expect was some of the people to go, email me back going, I didn't know what to say straight away. I'm sure you've thought about the ramifications for your career before emailing something so idiotic to everybody. And then I had this whole heap of other people, and it was like The Awakenings, you know, that Robin Williams film, where they all came out of the woodwork, and I quickly knew everyone who had an autism diagnosis in our organisation who went out. Can you help me? My line manager's not great. Can you help me? I haven't told my mum and dad. Can you help me? I don't know what to do for my career.
Someone emailed back saying that, have you thought about this before?
The ramifications for your career.
That's wild.
Wild.
That's crazy. It's only a few years ago as well.
Yeah.
It's not like it's...
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But then it makes me want to campaign more.
Yeah, well, of course
because
it does. Yeah,
I can't go to work and I can't look at our children and young people, and some of them, as we know, have a DigiPathway, do podcasts and things like this. And I've done podcasts with our children in our schools, and then think, we raise our children to hold heads up high and be proud of who they are, as they should be. No way am I then not doing something to deal with some of these structural issues? Because if someone's coming for me, they are coming for me knowing that they will shut 1 million people down. I'm a big target to take down. So I'm like, come for me. So I was like, at the launch of the Bee Neuroinclusive code, I talked about the story of the fire lily. So the fire lily lays dormant underground when a rainforest has burnt to the ground to the crisp, and it's there for 15 years, and it actually gets awoken by the smoke. So the smell of the smoke means that suddenly it goes, oh, it's growth time. Pops out of the ground, this remarkable little fire lily. And because of that, the sunbird is able to swoop down and start creating nectar. And that repopulates and grows the forest more biodiverse than it was before, and it's stronger for decades to come. So I go, that's me. I'm the fire lily. It's like the whole world had burnt to hell. I kept having my GP saying, if you don't shield, you're going to die too like your dad. Why phone people up and say that? I haven't even booked an appointment. In the concept.
Just a random call on a Tuesday.
Oh yeah. You're like, or I'll send you an extra text through the app system, or shielding letters, and it was like, oh my, can everyone back off? And I'm a parent. You know what I mean? I'm trying to go on and work. So yeah. So that's kind of what made me campaign. And I kind of created safety for a lot of people to come forward. But what I wasn't expecting was, a couple of years after the pandemic, I'm going about my daily life in my new organisation. I'm living my best life. I'm doing the stuff for the children. We're all going to Disneyland again because we promised all of our children, everyone who'd missed a trip, we'll do the catch-up trips. 9 trips. You know what I mean? So I'm in that zone, and we're really proud. And in a meeting that was about sufficiency of commissioning for our children, the person who marked my dad's funeral demanded I was sacked in my new organisation for posting about autism on LinkedIn because it was unprofessional.
So you've left the previous, and this person's still then?
This is years later. This is so many years. And then and that rocked me to my centre. I mean, I was physically sick as a reaction to that. And because I had post-traumatic stress from the pandemic experiences, whenever I'd see the signage of that organisation, I'd have to pull my car over to be sick on myself. It's not great. Sorry if anyone's having the breakfast. That was the kind of visceral response. And I hibernated my LinkedIn account, and I was like, oh my God, who's watching me? Who's watching me? Who's watching me? And I wrote to the Equalities and Human Rights Commission, the Information Commissioner's Office. And what we found out in the end, although this person had been blocked by me years ago, they had a WhatsApp group.
Really?
But some people I was still in contact with sharing screenshots. And then when you kind of go, wow. And then I think, well, I can't create psychological safety for myself. And it's unreasonable to expect the organisation I work in now to do that for me, because this is way bigger. So
It's always claiming WhatsApp groups, isn't it?
It is.
Always.
Yeah, and then it's sort of like, so I ended up like, dear Andy Burnham, please could I have a meeting? I didn't tell him any of this, because what I did not want was any more thing where people going, it's such a shame that you're autistic, your dad died of COVID. And I'm like, oh, I'm so angry, I'm capable of more than this. And I want to get beyond this. And the social justice campaigner came out. And so I wrote, and I basically said, 70% of my out community can't even get a job. 64% of managers don't know what they're doing. Here's your ACOS stats. There are just as many autistic women and girls as there are boys. Here's the BMJ article. And I just reeled off facts, figures. And then I went, and I know you like the bees because of the bee networks. We'll call it Bee Neuroinclusive. Can I have a meeting? And I also said, all of these children and young people are coming through out their whole lives proud, as they should be. And some of them might not know that they're out, and the parents have proudly posted videos, so it's not done with malice or malintent, you know what I mean? Trying to create a different narrative. And what they're going to come in work and people are going to go, we've never had anyone like you before, because I've had that to me. Never had anyone like you before telling people you're autistic. I said, what is this, 1982? And I've come to work and gone, I'm a lesbian and I live with my girlfriend. We exist. That's the space I'm in. I'm out, you know what I mean? So let's have those long overdue conversations at work. And to be fair to him, because I worked with him and Lucy Powell on early years, because I wrote the very first evolution tool for Greater Manchester for a children's perspective. And then I came back briefly to be a special advisor for Andy and Lucy and implementing that. So they trusted me to go down to the Science and Technology Select Committee. They trusted me to go down to the Education Select Committee. You can look me up, 2018, I'm there in Parliament. They trusted me to fly to New York to work on the Bloomberg City Leadership Initiative with Harvard. So I'm like, you trusted me, you know I deliver. And it's like that Cilla Black moment, surprise, surprise. The unexpected teacher between the eyes. I was autistic all along. And it's like, so that's the only thing that's changed. That is the only thing that's changed is you need this new information. Isn't that even more powerful? So can you help me? And before he even took me, it was like, before you take your coat off, it's a yes. So let's have a conversation. And that's when he was like, this would fit with a good employment charter. The good employment charter is the coalition of the winning of people who care about retention, great workforces, great places to work, you know what I mean? And creating brilliant opportunities for growth and skills in the city region. We'll put it in that. So that's kind of where the two came together, where I was like, they're going, hi, I'm asking because I just want us to do this, not knowing that I'm physically shaking in the background, thinking, because people are coming for me now, you know what I mean? In a do I need to change where I live way? Who's watching me? And it made me paranoid for so long, thinking, are you in the group? Because I was never allowed to know who was in the group.
Kind of interesting because the first time we met, I think you was at the Manchester Central, you'd done a talk there in the big auditorium, and you'd come out and you spoke to a few of us, me and Anna being one of them, two of them, and I think you said a few words to Alan as well, one of our other directors. And you took questions afterwards and spoke to people and spoke amazingly on stage about all this kind of stuff. And I was like, great, brilliant, love that. And especially with the background of Jake, which we spoke about off camera, my son, obviously goes to Newbridge, talking about he's going to Disneyland this year, which is fantastic.
I love that because I've organised the trip. I love those small connections.
That's I was literally magnetic towards you from the start. And then, interestingly, you did another, with a good employment chart, you did another just in the city centre of Manchester in a smaller confined space. And this particular time you was on stage and you asked not to be approached, not to be spoken to. And
that was
the launch.
You had the red badge.
And you were obviously in a different place then at that time, because obviously the first time we'd
you wouldn't know. You were so impressive on stage.
Yeah, I mean,
really,
you'd obviously
really
said
impressive.
not for us to, and that was, and obviously everyone respects that. And me knowing my son Jake and seeing how one day he can be this, football, everything, and then the next day, and I'm like. I'm still learning, you know, and I was going, it's a difficult day today. I'm like, right, okay, fine.
Well, you know what? I nearly didn't turn up to my own launch of the own code. That's the headspace. So I hadn't slept properly for months. I kept having panic attacks. My worry was, and if we launch the code, are they going to come for me again? If I even mention any of my lived experience, and it's important for me to talk about it to be able to process it, because when you're not able to talk about it and process it, it sits there as trauma. And I have a very strong PTSD response, so it didn't serve me. I've never mentioned individuals, I've never mentioned the organisation, I'm not bringing anything into disrepute, and I kind of think now, do you know what? If they came for me now, everything would have to be in the public domain.
Yeah.
I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to lose from that. My word I was so terrified. And I don't know if people saw my husband was with me on my day, and that was the deal. It was like, you need to come with me or I can't come, I can't do it. And God love him, he sat there, he's covered in tattoos and a big people know it. And he bought this T-shirt, and it had like a frog with a walking stick on the front. And it said, "'Twas the tism, my lord." And he sat there right at the front going, you can do it. And when I started, I was shaking. And that first few minutes I went, let's start again. I can do it again. And da, da, da. And I thought I was dreadful because that's where my head
No,
went.
not at all.
But I've watched it back on video. And like my husband was like, you're not as bad. I know how bad your mental health was and how much you were struggling. He said, trust me, I was like, blimey, she's like on showtime. You know what I mean? Pull it out of the bag. And also I've not watched all of it because no one wants to watch themselves for like an hour ago. But
He does. He does. But no, you were very impressive.
You're very,
You spoke really well.
Thank you.
I think you need
So
to realise...
I wasn't being rude on that day. It was like, if anyone started telling me about themselves and their thing, I would literally go, I literally can't do anything.
No, but that's what I think is important for people to understand is as confident as you are and as amazing you are at delivering what you're doing. If you didn't speak about it, you know, our MD, Nick, sort of come on the back of you, basically saying about his neurodiversity, saying, you know, he spoke to you and he's come onto a podcast, he's sat down with people and basically gone, yeah, I've had a chat with Shirley and I want to put my hand up and say, yeah.
I'm so proud of him in his journey. When he posted that thing on LinkedIn,
well, there you go.
It was extraordinary. Yeah. And then part of me thought, oh, I love what you've done here. I love what you've done here. And then I thought, and the awakenings are going to come.
No, but do you not feel...
The people are going to come towards him, and he might not quite be ready for that. And the way that you'd be amazed where people stop you. I've been stopped in the toilets before now, where I've been at like Old Trafford doing a conference on something, talked about being autistic. You just sat in the toilet and someone's knocked on the... Is that Shirley next door? Can I talk to you about my kid? When you get out and you think, actually, there's boundaries.
Let's have a minute here.
Give me a minute.
Here.
Give me a minute. Or I'll follow to my car after an event and I'm like, I'm getting in my car now and I feel creeped out. You followed me to my car.
Yeah, it's a little bit much.
It's a bit much. So it just needs a bit of boundary.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think you should be proud of what you've done. And
Thank you.
Don't listen to any negative noise. Because you talked there about, sorry, Shirley, briefly about the 1980s and not wanting to leave your room and people not accepting you and saying she's different, what's wrong with her, why is she not? And I kind of felt a bit like that growing up. I don't think people understood me, but more for Jake now, I mean, Jake plays football with children in mainstream school who knew him. Obviously, Jake doesn't go to mainstream school anymore, but they've accepted that. And 20, 30 years ago, that wouldn't have been an acceptance. It would have been, he's different. I don't want him coming to football. And that's not the way. And it's because of people like you that talk about it and open up and put things out. Normalise it, yeah, because it is, yeah.
Well, it's that intersectionality of everything. And I like to think we're like the United Colours of Benetton in a broader dimension these days. Do you know what I mean? Where children and young people, largely in mainstream, aren't horrible to each other if they're autistic or neurodivergent or dyslexic or dyspraxic or ADHD or Tourette's. They're genuinely not horrible to each other about any of those particular issues. The issue seems to be more around the inclusive teaching practices and wider things. And I'm kind of like, do you know what? I'm my mortgage is paid off now. I'm at a certain point in my career and my flight path in life. I have a privileged position to be able to say, do you know what? Long overdue conversations at work is embarrassing. We need to get over it. And one of my proudest campaign things I think I've done that created a teachable moment for people who don't get it was around Alan Turing. So Alan Turing in Manchester, every year his birthday is rightly celebrated. And I'm now a volunteer at Friends of Sackville Gardens where his statue is on the bench with a blurb. And every year we talk about, he's gay and da-da-da and da-da-da. And every year I've gone, oh. And then every year I've gone, but what's the point of me just going, oh, why do we never talk about him being autistic? Do something about it. So I'm like that. Dear Bev Craig, she's the leader of the City Council. Alan Turing, if he applied for a job right now at Bletchley Park, where he broke the Enigma code, GCHQ, University of Manchester, where he created the world's first computer baby that's in the Museum of Science and Industry, and he said he was gay, largely it wouldn't be an issue. Thank God we have moved on. I'm not saying people would not be unkind to him because homophobia doesn't exist, yeah? Of course we have to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish it was Sesame Street that we all lived on, but we don't. But if Alan applied for a job now and ticked disability confident, which has had 0 impact on job outcomes since 2016, a decade, why would you continue doing something if it doesn't work? Pet peeve of mine. So 0% impact on job outcomes, still on that 70% on out of work in my community. Disability confident, reading autism. Would he have got an interview right now, today, in the equivalent of Bletchley Park?
Probably.
GCHQ?
I do know Tesco, if you tick on the Tesco application that you're, I don't know if I can name drop Tesco, I've done it anyway.
All the supermarkets are available.
Yeah. If you tick disability, you're guaranteed an interview.
Well, there is that. Everyone says there's a guaranteed interview scheme.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Love to see the evidence to prove
I
it.
know, because one of the other things I was going to touch on was, is it 4% of people with disabilities in work? There's just 4% of people in work, literally.
In terms of the current statistics for people who are disabled, 58% of people who are disabled are in work. 80% of all working age population for 18 to 60, whatever, autistic people are out 30%. So 70% of our community. So we're like half of the disabled community. But also what I was going to say was, say Alan Turing gets a job at University of Manchester, finally gets in, would we think that he would have been credited with the research of inventing the world's first computer, or a footnote researcher over here, while someone else with the better social skills was able to present the research at a plenary? Oh, come on. So that was my hustle. So we went and bought the evidence that in 2003, the Journal of Psychiatry did a posthumous thing of Alan Turing being autistic, taking the world's leading expert, so it's a peer-reviewed journal, looked at everything they knew in the public domain and mapped him against the criteria and said, yes, he was. So they got that evidence because they were worried about what if someone complains. Fine, there it is. I bought it for you, 35 quid, University of Cambridge, keep it with my love. Do you know what I mean? And we got his stuff that updates, so it now says in Sackville Gardens, he was an autistic man, this is how we know, you know what I mean, and he's gay as well, and his intersectionality means lots of people now means he feels seen. Because what I want now is 10 years from now is that, so when your lads, like leaving school off into the world of work, I want people to look back on this moment in time and go, what were we thinking? So we thought Alan Turing was like a genius, you know what I mean, but he couldn't be gay. But then we said you could be gay, but we can't say you're a genius anymore because you're artistic and you're in some bracket of where they better not employ him. So come on. You know what I mean? You took 2 years off the end of the Second World War. Millions more people would have died. We could be under Nazi Germany, you know what I mean, for the last 50 years. My granddad was part of the Normandy landings. This is a real story for my family. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, come on, can we just catch up and get over we're autistic, get over it.
Accept it.
Just accept it. And we were all along, boo, and it's not even Halloween.
So the Bee Neuroinclusive campaign, what's involved, what's entailed, what are the end goals, what do you hope to achieve with that?
The main thing for me is around having long overdue conversations at work. And I know there are lots and lots of people who come to work and who struggle at work because they've got neurodivergent children who aren't included at school. And while some employers can be brilliant at going, oh my God, your kid's not got a school place, so they're hardly in, and you're applying for an EHCP, or you're going through that SEND system. Employers have got used to and normalised that, I think, in the last decade, and we know that all needs to be looked at. Those conversations, they don't expect the parents to say they might be neurodivergent as well, or wider workforces. They often think of it as being a young person's issue, and actually only 11% of people in my age category have even got a formal diagnosis. So I always say, what about grandma and a collection of pottery and she never takes her coat off in someone else's house? You know what I mean? What about Uncle Blow and his train sets, and he knows the route of every train that runs around the UK.
Or Paul and his red wine.
Yeah.
And all the rest of it, your kid's not the only one, you know what I mean, kind of thing. So we have to have these long overdue conversations at work because it's 20% of the population. So my pitch with the Greater Manchester stuff is, if we look at the whole of the population of Greater Manchester, the 10 areas, 20% of that is the city the size of Manchester. And Deloitte's has done research proving it's 20% of the global population are neurodivergent. So it's not a tiny issue, isn't this like, oh, you've met Rain Man at the bus stop once. Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's thumping great numbers of people. finding it hard to access the world of work, and we're really tolerating that. We're really saying 70% of my out community are on out of work benefits. If we can get my 30% to the 60% benchmark across all of the disabled people, it's worth £1.5 billion to the UK economy, pro bono economics.
Wow.
Now that was
a
worth
benefit.
more than the Winterfield pension stuff, which was worth 1.3 billion. So I would pick a lane.
Yeah.
You know, I would pick a lane about what's worth doing, and the idea of the code was it was completely co-produced by people of working age who were neurodivergent in Greater Manchester, and because lots of people aren't employed or are self-employed, we made sure that they got paid for that work. That was one of my principles. No one's doing this for free. Thank you very much. And then the idea of the code was we weren't going to do a cringe fest of saying, here's the 2 things you need to know about dyslexia, the 3 things about Tourette's, the 1 thing about acquired brain injury, because you could create a hostage to fortune. And some organisations have done this and gone, let's do a load of neurodiversity training. People come in and go, right, this is autism, 6 top tips, you know what I mean, and what you need to know. And then people have come forward at work thinking they're safe, and then quickly realise the manager goes, no, you're just being lazy. I know what autism is because I've been on that course.
Yeah.
And you create this cringe fest of, oh my God, we wouldn't do LGBTQ plus things like that. We just do Pride and crack on and go, how can we work flexibly? You're all right to be yourself at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I always say, if either of you came to work tomorrow, God forbid, touch wood, don't want this to happen, yeah? And you said, I've got a bad back, no one is going to go, oh my God, until everyone's trained to be an osteopath, a back surgeon, and a physiotherapist. We cannot possibly allow anyone with a bad back in the room. And it's to do with our morals and everyone would get it's just utter and complete nonsense, wouldn't they? They would just get
absolutely.
it rubbish. What you need to know is, are you fit to be in work? Do you need to work from home for a bit? How are you doing with your driving? Do we need to do a bit of referral to anyone for you? Have you got access to physio through your hospital Saturday fund? It's quicker than the NHS. Do you need any heat pads? And do we look at your workstation? And we'll work it out from there. That will be the end of it. Because you'll be thinking about inclusion, productivity. So my pet peeve, and this is the hustle we workplace with Bee Neuroinclusive is, at the moment people would go, flexible working, person-centred working, culture at work. The minute you mention the D word, disability, N word, neurodivergence, people suddenly go, oh my God, we're in the reasonable adjustments end of the marketplace. And then what can commonly happen is they go, let's commission this out. But we're talking about culture, productivity, you know what I mean, this end of the spectrum and the prism. And what you get then is a referral to Rocky Health, which is speak to a complete stranger you've never met before. Do it over the phone. They don't know the culture of your organisation. And then when they've come and they've done an assessment and they know nothing about neuroaffirmative practice, because that's not their jam, but they're going to write to your employer and then say these are legally binding things you now must do, which actually may not work for the person who's met with. And you kind of go, well, I wonder what could possibly go wrong with this kind of scenario. So that's what we need to shift. We need to shift around person-centred support. And like we talked about earlier and me at the launch, fluctuating capacity depending on contextual factors. So it's not someone swinging the leg or taking the mick or anything like that. It's like, this is how I can be productive now and contribute. But you know, there's other times where people go, has she actually slept? Do you know what I mean? I cannot believe the productivity is like, we're expecting it to be here and it's up here, bang, bang, bang. And sometimes it's round here, but overall, my God, the products and the services and everything is being delivered, and that's the end goal, not this transactional stuff. So if we can create that kind of approach at work, I think it'll benefit wider people than neurodivergent people, because who doesn't want person-centred work? I always say, who's that privileged person who gets to be in their 50s, who's got no caring responsibilities? So everyone slept brilliantly because no one has children. No one's got a parent who's got chronically ill, or a partner, or themselves who hasn't got a chronic illness, or has a severe injury, or life happens, or there's been a bereavement, a loss, a divorce, or whatever it is. God, we even all had a pandemic, yeah?
Yeah.
We've got no idea about life events. It's a rare breed. Who's that? Hi, I'm the person who's the cog in the machine, who nothing's ever happened to, and I'm here every day. And actually, they might be the most unproductive person you've got.
Yeah.
Because they
Believe
haven't
it,
had
yeah.
that dynamic, I need to flex how things, because life's happening to me and I'm learning and growing. So it's a bizarre one not to think about flexible working and person-centred and fluctuating capacity, because I think it comes for us all. We're just born that way if you're neurodivergent.
Absolutely. So, what could it mean for a company like Adept, like ourselves? Because I like to think that we're a bit of a forward-thinking company, and we absolutely put people at the heart of what we do.
But
I'm sure there's stuff that we should be doing.
Oh,
that
of course
we're
it will
not.
be. Yeah, I mean,
And
Shirley touched on it earlier about interviews, and why does an interview have to have that question? Why does it have to be that structured? And what is it Nick likes to do with people when he's take them for a coffee and let's just see the person, let's meet the individual. Let's not give them a band of questions. Let's go and meet the individual.
yeah, I mean,
That's always important, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think.
But these things that we could probably do better.
I mean, any suggestions on what we could do to kind of
I
open
think
up
that's
those?
right, though. I mean, and Timpson's do that as well, don't they, as a strategy. Remember the chief executive of Timpson's talking about this, because all of his, a lot of his, like those pods you see in Tesco, they're all ex-offenders. And so I don't know whether you've been to Greenbank Prison. I have. I get on about Dora in Greater Manchester, and they teach them those skills. So I'm there going, you're teaching people how to cut keys in prison. I'll just leave that one there with you. So this is like but Timpson's, when they're doing external recruitment, always take them for a coffee first.
Yeah.
And I always think, if you're going to interview someone, surely it's better interviewing in situ in the job that they might be doing. So you sort of like go, okay, so you want to work in a surgical team and you want to do the sterilisation of surgical equipment. It's one of the flight paths that was for one of our students who's autistic, you know what I mean, lines it up, perfect, bob on job every morning, so there could have been more than a porter. And it's like, well, let's see them do the job. Let's give them a job safari, a scenario training, rather than just endless panels with endless questions. I always say questions in advance, it's dead easy to do. And my big one is around actual, even inviting someone for a coffee and type of things or whatever, are those letters that you send out. So at the moment, I always say, it's performative. When people go, hi, we're an inclusive organisation, so if you need something different, an adjustment, you let us know and we'll provide that for you. I would read that and go, I'm not doing the first rodeo. You know what I mean? I'm not your first rodeo, sweetheart, and I'm not doing that, because what you're letting me know is you don't really do it. Because tell us if you need it. You're telling me there's nothing in your universal design. And what the street smarts way of flipping that around would be, hi, we are Adept and we offer chats in a coffee in an informal way, if that's what you do. We welcome seeing your CV. We welcome you doing a show and tell of what you've done before and bringing in your portfolio. You know what I mean? We give questions, and other things that we do is we give questions in advance. We provide images of where the car parking in the spaces, like you did for me today, which was brilliant. Otherwise, I'd have ended up in KFC, I tell you. Nearly did, which is across the road for the viewers. You know what I mean? And that kind of thing. So that kind of structured approach, when you get a letter like that, you go, this is not their first rodeo. They've done loads of this before. This looks great. Actually, I'd love to then go for an interview. And you can even put the bottom. And if there's anything here that you've thought of that we haven't thought of, which is a bit like saying we can accommodate different things, let us know. We're open to that. It's the same approach, but the culture in which it sits is you're given that assurance of, you're not our first rodeo. We've done this before and we've thought about it. And we've probably recruited and you probably retained people.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
A different cultural approach, but it's communicating the same concept of, hi, this is the standard approach. If you're different, let us know. And everyone's going to go, 70% of my community can't even get a job. I'm not going to ask for anything different. And then people struggle in interview because there aren't those adjustments. You end up with this dysfunctional, I'm never going to tell them. And the organisation's going, I wish they'd tell us. And then you kind of go, well, you need to do better than go, let us know if you're different. Rather than going, universal design, we thought about this.
That's really interesting. I mean, I haven't done, when I recruited or interviewed, I mean, when we were speaking to you about joining as a contract manager, we went out for a coffee, didn't we? We actually went to
Did a couple of things, but yeah.
course clubs, didn't we? In Manchester, we didn't. I've never liked that whole kind of firing squad type of interview thing, because it very much feels like that, don't it? There's always a big table and it's interview on one side, interview on the other side.
8 people on the other.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's a bit like, oh my, I can imagine someone who's neurodiverse coming in and thinking, oh my God, what the hell's going on here? Or even someone who isn't. So yeah, I mean, that's something that we kind of do now. I mean, you did it with Nick and Alan Tuesday.
Yes. Yep.
Where you went for a brew, and it does. We did it with Danny as well. It does just relax people a little bit.
Because you want to see that person, don't you? You don't want to see the front of them putting a show on because they've got to answer these questions, or they've got to. They feel like they've got to give that answer because that's what you want to hear. You want to get to know the person and feel that person, yeah.
And also flip it round a bit here. How many times have any of us in an organisation met someone and gone, my God, what were they thinking? After they've arrived, but they've gone in that interview, they've gone in that interview and they can smash lying through their teeth. To everyone going, because they're so used to doing it and being charismatic about it and schmoozing a panel like that and not caring, because you know what I mean? It's their ego. It's not about that. We have all met people like that who can smash interviews, and then you can't. And there are other people that are really talented who struggled, and then when they've kind of come and you've gone, God, the interview weren't great, but you're cracking. Yeah, you're brilliant. And then you kind of go, well, there's something wrong in the interview process, then, isn't there? Because it's harder to wield out. You know what I mean? Look at me. I'm great. I am.
Yeah, it is. 100%. Yeah, I always find that I do like to do them informal, because we can upskill people when they come to work for us. We can teach them how we feel the job should be done, but you can't coach personality. You can't coach someone's attitude and characteristics and things like that. I think you do get those little nuggets when you just how people treat, when someone, a waiter or a waitress brings over coffee, 100%. Just the interactions. You can see a lot of someone's social cues.
Yeah, their values, their core values. If they're, like you say, those tiny details
that don't seem like a lot, but are actually really big.
I was at the Good Employment Charter last November, when we did it was the full week. One of the events we was on was all about.
Was that November?
Yeah.
Where's time going?
Honest to goodness. And obviously you've got massively involved with the Good Employment Charter, which obviously you and Andy talk quite a lot, do you? Now, is that not as much as you'd like, is it?
I think that's a bit of a misnomer. I speak a lot to his teams. And he, and all power to him, because people, you can imagine. I can't imagine his inbox is full of everything.
Was you in my kind of? I was a bit glad that he didn't get into Parliament. They sort of held him back. And rightly or wrongly, I don't know. For Manchester, I was kind of happy he stayed, but would it have been better for him to be in there?
That's a bit political, sound a bit Ben Elton.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just because I know all the great things he does with the chart, you see. And
he's the only politician I like.
Yeah, he's done great things.
He's been brilliant. He's been brilliant, and I always think
he's not scared of trying something, is he?
I've sat in meetings with him with the GM Send board in my day job, where he's had the chief officer inspector there, and he's talked about the code. And I've been in the room, and you think, good. And he's talked about the review with DWP and access to work at the moment about the code. So regardless of whether he's the MP for Gorton and Denton or whether he's the Mayor of Greater Manchester, he has kudos. You know what I mean? And he is sharing what we're doing, and that's powerful. And what he's doing at the moment, and he promised to do this at a fringe event we organised, and as soon as he said it, he turned around on the mic and went, I better do it, she's looking at me, isn't she? And I'm like, yeah. Because it's not for me, it's for the children.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's for the children, and I will, fight for the kids, you know what I mean? I need to calm down the fighting, but you know what I mean? I will charge for the children, you know what I mean, and make sure that they've got the best start in life. So he committed to running a mayoral summit with the other devolved mayors in England and share best practice of what they're all doing. So that's happening on the 17th of March. It's invite only, it's his event. It's with the mayors of London, Yorkshire, Liverpool, all the other areas coming together in Manchester to share best practice of what works, particularly with a focus on working skills. So I'm really proud of that.
Absolutely.
And the
so it doesn't matter whether he's the mayor or not. And as I've said to him, and Howard Dauber, who is the Deputy Mayor of London, who's for working skills, I am cheeky. I have said, look, you meet with the Prime Minister on a regular basis as devolved mayors. Who sets the agenda in your meetings? Prime Minister. Or do you offer up agenda items? Because if we have a mayoral summit and we find things that are really brilliant everywhere on new inclusion at work, we can counter the narrative of PIP cuts and benefit cuts and all the sort of Daily Mail awful headlines that are perpetuated in the media last year, and go, here's the plan B that would work. Can we do this instead? You know, there are lots of neurodivergent people on Whitehall. I know people who are in their neurodiversity networks, because when you're out, you end up knowing everybody. And there are lots of people who are now in very senior roles in Whitehall because they're worried about what will happen with their careers. So that's what's got to change, is that psychological safety.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And the fact that Andy went, you know, new inclusion really matters, new inclusion, Bee Neuroinclusive, la 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 la. Everywhere he goes, radio, TV, whatever. He's created such psychological safety that's way beyond me. It's helped me, but for everybody else, that people are now starting to have long overdue conversations at work, aren't they? And things are starting to change, even in the last 2 years, in the way that they hadn't done before. And that's amazing.
Has that given you that extra confidence, knowing Andy's met with you, and not just because, well, probably a large part of it is because of yourself, but the fact that he's running with it, do you then kind of, has that brought you to keep going and going, actually, yeah, what I'm doing is right, even though I've banged my head against the wall for a long time, it's right and I'm doing it?
Fundamentally, what it's given me is my dignity back.
Yeah.
So it felt so undignified. I had to be so public about something that was so deeply personal that I wasn't sure about myself, and an awful lot to process. And in that moment, I didn't need a hard time being made even harder by a pandemic, my dad dying, people laughing about it, and then outing me. I mean, it was horrific. It was utterly horrific. And what I didn't want anyone to be helping me through pity. I wanted people to help me to say, I am the person who wrote the Devo deal for early years. You trusted me in Parliament. You and Lucy knew I smashed it. You backed me all the way. Surprise, surprise. I'm autistic. And isn't that amazing? And isn't that amazing I was able to do these things? And isn't it more amazing now that you know that about me, and we can leverage that to open the trapdoor forever, so I can keep going behind, so you're Jake and everyone else going, right, kids, I've opened the door, I can get 500 of you.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? On the
Absolutely.
Neuro-Inclusion Express, before, God forbid, anything could happen and things get worse again.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I will yank as many kids out of that lake as I can. And so many people who are sat at home unable to work. You know, 7 members of my extended family are neurodivergent. I am not the only one. I can't look at all my nieces and children and think I haven't done enough. I can't. So I have so much respect for Andy and team, because they are up to here with work. They could choose 52 million issues, and they've chosen this because I'm like, we've done so much devolved around work and skills in the last decade. It's not impacted the stats on my community at all. No more people are out, and no more people are in paid work. So it's not working. But talking about it really does. You know what I mean? And I'm sure you'll find that now you're talking about it, suddenly it's like the awakenings, everyone goes, yes, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I am Spartacus. And I'm going, all the films are coming out, aren't they? But you know what I mean? Like, everyone talks about the long overdue conversations at work. It's the last thing anyone's ever talked about at work. It's a cringe fest. Can we not do this? Children out their whole lives deserve to come into the world of work and not being told that they've never met anyone like you before. And they go, really? Sure about that? It's about like saying you've never met anyone who's gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my next question was going to be kind of what the impact you've seen so far and what the next steps are, but you've kind of just touched on that really.
I mean, the impact has been bonkers bananas, if you will, because we launched the code and we knew it was, you know, lots of interest around it. What I didn't expect in that first week, because I just went off to Arran for a week, for a nice quiet week in a cottage with my husband, middle of nowhere, decompress, let's see if I can sleep. Didn't sleep, but it was like, at least it's quiet and it's all in this little cottage. And people were messaging me going, oh my God, have you seen the news because of Tom and Waitrose story? And as a result, the code then went from, we launched it on the Thursday, and by the following Thursday, it had 16,000 views globally. Now, the main Good Employment Charter website, as Ian was laughing, he said off with me going, Shirley, I've gone, sorry, I'm doing an Ian impression, Shirley. The website's only had 14,000 views since we launched it.
Wow. And
you just think, wow. And then what I didn't expect was in a matter of weeks, it had been shared in America, Canada, Hong Kong, the Netherlands, in other places. And then suddenly I'm like, would I come to the World Economic Forum in Davos? Do you know what I mean? To talk about it. And you're going, and I'm literally there going like this, looking over my shoulder going, it's Shirley Woods-Gallagher from the Beach Hill Estate in Wigan. We have got, who's autistic, we've got the right kid here. We've got the right kid here. So that I was not expecting. That I knew there'd be loads of interest because it's the last thing that everyone talks about. And since I was outed and that to be out, I get at least 3 brand new people every week. I was joking like Oprah Winfrey. My husband will go, who was it? Was it the husband, wife, or child? You've met a random copy and it's someone you've not seen for 5 years. Because we know what's going to happen. You'll have a chat and then they'll go, I hope you don't mind me asking or telling. Can you help me? All the time. So I knew it would have an impact. I did not expect it to have a global, scalable impact where it's like, you know, like, wow.
So talk to us about the summit in Davos.
Yes. So someone I met online a few years ago now, Dr Maureen Dunn, and she's based in America. And I have to give, you know, it's a difficult time in America at the moment. Everything with diversity has had its funding stripped and things like that. So anyone who's out there doing work like Maureen's in America has my greatest respect because it's tough. It's tough. But yeah, her and Sylvan, who's from Germany a few years ago, were at the World Economic Forum with their day jobs. So it was kind of like a Bob Dylan video. And they held up a sign in the street saying new inclusion really matters. And about 8 of us online went, yes, we do. And look, we're at Davos, but I'm waving from the peak in my house. You know what I mean? Kind of, we're all going, yay. And then it's moved from that to this year. It was an entire hotel that she'd kind of commandeered for a week to run a neurodiversity summit, fly people in from all over the globe to talk about why new inclusion really matters. Do you need to disclose? This is a big learning for me. Do you need to disclose in order to have neuroinclusion? Because if you had really good universal design, half of it wouldn't even need to be disclosed to begin with. But at the same time, do you not need to disclose to do what I've done and gone, yes, I am, you know what I mean, and do the big campaigning? Because that created structural change at scale and pace in a 2-year window. We've gone from having no one talks about it in GM to it's part of the employment code, 16,000 views, everyone's cracking on with it and doing it. And loads of people have come out of the woodwork. So it's kind of like, yes, universal design, we shouldn't need it. But in order to get to that universal design, we need the culture to be right and we need the disclosure. So for me, those were the kind of like, oh, wow, you're really making me think here because other people are not having to disclose. They've done universal design and it's fine. And a part of me goes, oh, wouldn't it have been great not to disclose and just process my own things first and have that moment. But had I not done that, had it not happened, we wouldn't be where we are. And that's a beautiful thing. So that was the big one for me. But yeah, the other bit of Davos, which is hilarious, is it's in the middle of nowhere. In the middle of absolutely nowhere. And when you look at the train lines, kind of like there's Cloisters where all the billionaires will go skiing, isn't it? And then there's this train line that trails down to the middle of nowhere, and that's where Davos is. So at some point, billionaires have gone, let's go for dinner in a quieter location to plan something. And then built this big venue, purpose-built, for themselves with flags and, you know, and they commandeer lots of things. So there were lots of organisations there who had pop-up stalls, and part of me was going, oh God, well, I know that it's a eugenicist who's behind that, and they've got a big pop-up stall. I've got to walk past that on the way to our event. Oh God. And lots of the vehicle, everyone was just in back-to-back vehicles of like what looked like bulletproof, bomb-proof cars, blacked-out windows, and then it was like us, the plebs, walking the streets. You know what I mean? Walking in amongst around it. So it really was there's the millionaires and whatever. And in our hotel, and I'd missed it, but some people had seen him because I just went for like 3 days, not the 5. David Beckham was in our hotel the day before when we were like saying, yeah, but even he's probably not wealthy enough to be here because he's a millionaire, he's not a billionaire, and he'd come from investors. You know, in our hotel for his own thing. So it's kind of like a different league, but I love the fact that we had this gigantic sign saying Neurodiversity Summit, and we were all there going, yeah, we're here, we know we make a difference, and you wouldn't even have computers if it wasn't for Alan Turing, an autistic gay man who kicked the Nazis' ass. So let's not forget that lesson.
Absolutely.
Whilst you're all down there, you billionaires.
Absolutely.
You know.
So was that a bit of a pinch me moment then when you were on stage? 'Cause it wasn't a panel event, was it? It was just you.
It was like a fireside chat for half an hour, and there were lots of people over the 4 days, and some were online. It was very hybrid. Kudos to Maureen and her vision to be able to deliver something so complex. But yeah, to find out that I'd won the Global Social Impact Award for Bee Neuroinclusive was humbling, and I don't take that as, oh, it's for me. Yeah, I'd like to thank my mum and all that kind of like Oscar cringe fest. Like, it wasn't. It was just like, do you know what? I think of the very many people who have co-produced this. You know what I mean? And the tears and the hugs I've had from so many people as we've co-designed it. I think of all of the families that I've worked with. I think of all of the children and young people I see day to day in our schools. I think of all of the stories of the 3 a week. So I lost count at 500. I decided to stop counting at 500, love. Why are you counting now? We know it's like a lot. All of this totality is a difference for them. And the very fact that I'm here and that then gets publicity and things like BBC Radio Manchester and the Manchester Mirror covering it as a good news story next week as well, and it gets publicity, is wonderful because it creates further ripples. Yeah. So it's bigger than me. So yeah, it is global social impact. It's an idea for change, but I would never be doing this if it wasn't for Andy Burnham going, yeah, we'll do it, it's a great idea. So I always have to kind of pass the baton back and say, he's got a massive spotlight, he could talk about anything, and he chose this, and the impact's been huge. And
hopefully continues to be huge as well over
absolutely.
over time.
Yeah.
It'll be a real legacy piece.
Well, like I say, like 10 years from now, people to look back and go, a bit like America's Next Top Model, which is very sad. Look back and go, what were we thinking? Saying, oh my God, someone's autistic, unless we're all specialists in autism, we couldn't possibly have one of them in work. And it's like, well, Graham, your cleaner probably is. What are you talking about? Your CEO probably was. Do you know what I mean? What are we talking about here? It's cringeworthy. And I hope we look back on it like that. And I hope younger people look back on version 1 of the code and go, that was so basic. That was so basic. I'm good. Kick my ass. It was basic. Do better. Off you go. It's yours. It's yours. It's yours.
I think for me, I hope, we had an episode about a year ago where Jacob came on with Anna.
Yes.
Because we wanted to kind of talk about the difficulties of being a parent with a neurodiverse child at work and how that kind of translates and things like that. I really kind of hope that us having this discussion and this conversation and trying to, again, further normalise, I'm sure there'll be people in our workforce who are either diagnosed neurodivergent on some level or are undiagnosed and kind of can draw parallels and think, I see myself in that.
Definitely me, yeah, 100%. Undiagnosed, I see it all the time, yeah.
So hopefully...
I wasn't going to say anything, but I was like, oh, you're part of my community.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, by the way. Not everyone will say that.
Hopefully it can, inspire some people to maybe take that, if they feel that they need to or they want to take that step forward and to... I don't want to say out themselves, but if they feel they can, or if they feel it'll be beneficial for them, or just to get help or a diagnosis or whatever.
Absolutely.
Because certainly in our organisation, obviously we'd even if Nick wasn't at the helm, it's a very accommodating and welcoming organisation. So I hope that if there are people out there that are...
But it helps that Nick is there and Nick is championing it, and he wants to people to open up and...
Yeah, where's the kind of the first steps for people to go on to get like a diagnosis if they think that they may be kind of...
Well, at the moment, I am actually working with the Autism Alliance on looking at the diagnostic pathways.
It's another hack.
Another hack. You kind of do it and you go, oh, jeepers, creepers. It's a cringe fest of how you get a diagnosis. We know that an awful lot of it is to do with sensory speech language communication and social communication. So why is a mental health nurse doing it? You know what I mean? You kind of go, huh? So surely an occupational therapy and assault assessment and other things and supports, even for adults, would be, you know what I mean, much better than, you know what I mean, just going through a mental health nurse. And it's the only field, particularly as an adult, where you go in and they ask you to fill in like a screening sheet, and it's like, I guess your Cosmo quiz, I'm a 90s girl, you know what I mean? You score so many out of whatever, and then you get a pass go, you get to the next bit where they go, Q's only 2 years, do you know what I mean? Yeah, NHS. Or was it 34 years when they looked at the ADHD pathway in Manchester in the NHS the other day?
34.
34 years. Someone phoned me up and went, Shirley, get Radio 2 on now. Manchester's ADHD waiting list is 34 years long. I'm like, why do you think I campaign? You know what I mean? And then they won't accept private assessments in the NHS, you know, through GPs for medication. So we've got this whole, what an absolute mess. And we need to just look at good diagnosis. But if you get past go, you get enough Cosmo points, stage 2, for certainly an adult autism assessment, it's like, tell me about your traumatic childhood. Did you do this? Did you experience that? And it's literally tick, tick, tick. And at the end of it, they'll go, stop talking. You're autistic. Here's your letter. Boom. And I kind of say it's the only bit of mental health where we would go, unlock all your developmental trauma of not having your needs met because no one understood them as a small child, and then go, see ya.
Yeah.
That's
And then
great.
they go,
It's wild.
and then they go, oh, they've come back round again. And then they go, do you know your community's more likely to experience suicidal ideation, depression and anxiety. And you kind of want to go, sorry for the swears, no shit, Sherlock. I wonder where that came from. Unearth it, keep your mouth shut, talk about it, gaslight it and say it's because you're born that way. Oh my God, can I get out of this trauma loop? So that's what needs to be looked at. So I'm always cognizant of someone might have gone through, you got enough points, go, crack on, and then you go,
How?
1, oh my God, I've unearthed all that, I don't know what to do with it. And then 2, who do I tell now? Is it safe to tell anyone? And if you've been able to be in that 30%, you may not be out, so it might be slightly more than 30, I'm conscious of that. And then you've been able to keep a job, you've got your own financial independence, a roof over your head, you're going to jeopardise that by telling them. Because you know, once that's out, that genie's out of that bottle, it's out forever. So it's huge to tell people at work because you're jeopardising that financial independence you've been able to create for yourself. So when I talk about psychological safety, I'm not just talking psychological safety to, you know, wear nail varnish at work. I'm talking about huge things where you might think, oh my God. And I certainly know people who've lost friends and family members post-diagnosis. You know, and people go, oh, you're not one of them, are you?
It's wild.
It's wild. And you kind of like, I was like that the whole time.
Yeah. So I mean, hopefully the legacy can kind of be that almost aftercare.
100%, and care around. Because lots of people will talk about things being trauma-informed now, won't they? And I think that's great. You're informed, you're a bit more conscious. But that trauma-informed practice shouldn't just be, oh, I know what an ACE is, you know, an ACE is, you know, advanced children experiences. It should be not causing further trauma.
Yeah, well,
Not causing
what effectively what you're doing is going, yeah, you've opened up, you've told me all about that. I'll press the spinning top, kick you out the door, and away you go. And you go, you walk out going, is that it? What?
Yeah.
I think
How do I deal with that?
Yeah, I think as well, just understanding the individual as well. 'Cause I mean, I hope I'm not speaking out of school here, Paul. I mean, you're kind of openly undiagnosed, neurodivergent.
Congratulations again. You're in a safe space.
We've talked a lot about, I mean, we've got to know each other quite well over the last 12 months, and you're quite open in the sense that you had a really good childhood and there wasn't trauma in there. It's understanding, I suppose it's just understanding each person's individual circumstances.
It goes back to that person-centred approach.
I mean, at school, it was kind of, sorry, Shirley, at school, it was kind of like, it's the class clown. He's just making his mates laugh. I didn't get picked, I was, you know.
That's just how you were.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes me think back to when I was at school and you kind of then draw parallels and you think, oh, well, that person, maybe they weren't just being disruptive, they weren't just being naughty, they were trying to cope effectively.
I think trying to cope is a good idea.
It's a strategy for survival, isn't it? Yeah. I don't doubt I was a quiet, geeky girl. And I look back at my school reports and they're hilarious. They're hilarious because they're like, she's a bright girl. but she's shy. She doesn't always make eye contact.
I had that
and you
in-
kind of go, oh, this is fantastic. She doesn't eat her dinners. She only eats the beige food.
See, I was down.
Lunchtime organisers her best friend in reception, and you kind of laugh. For God's sake, this is he's off the charts.
Yeah.
See, my eating thing was never I eat liver and onions. I think it was a different era.
You eat cod liver tablets.
Cod liver oil tablets without nuts, yeah. I didn't chew it this morning, swallowed it, don't worry.
Yeah.
But no, food thing was never a thing for me. I'd eat anything, you know. And again, everyone's different. Like Jake, you know, he's not the best at eating. He turns his nose up at most things, but
Not at a steak though.
not at a steak. Not at a steak, no. But yeah, no. Again, it just, you know, no matter how neurodiverse you are, we're all different. Everyone's, you know.
100%. One of the key things I took back to our Newbridge College girls group, because they made me a handbag for an event that said Neuropride on it, which I proudly took to an event. And it was a swanky dinner. You know what I mean? And I got in and I thought, God, it's sensory overload. Hell, well, like 50 top people who are neurodivergent, and every 2 minutes there's a champagne cork going. Lights, cameras, action, smoke thing. The table's overcrowded. I'm sat at the back with Mary Secchi from the Good Employment, Greater Manchester Autism Court and Consultant going, give me an hour. Give me an hour in here. And I'm, you know what I mean? And it was a 3-course dinner. And then someone came up to me, were you the one who ordered the special dinner? I went, yeah. And they brought everyone's food down. And it was a Midland hotel in Manchester, so it's whatever. And I was like, I am standing my ground on this, kids. And they brought a plain cheese sandwich with the crust cut off. But they'd done it nicely in fingers. And they went, there you go, it's your plain cheese sandwich. I went, that's perfect, I'm taking a photograph. And I shared it with the girls and went, I don't care where you go in life.
Absolutely.
Be yourself. And if what I could cope with in that moment was like the archetypal beige plain cheese sandwich and a glass of still water, that's what I rocked, ladies, with your So never be ashamed to be yourself no matter where you are. And there was a few people on my table like, oh, wow. You know, like, and the whole thing was like, oh, wow, you're having a plain cheese sandwich. Yes, I'm unapologetically autistic. That's why I've got the award. Thank you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not over-explaining beyond that. I would have choked on other food.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, I mean, we could talk for hours. Literally hours and hours and hours. I'd love to get you back on maybe in 6-12 months' time, Shirley, and just kind of see where that Bee Neuroinclusive program's kind of moving along with. But just a huge thank you, because we know how busy you are.
Thank you.
And the work you're doing is so important and so groundbreaking as well with the global reach that you've got.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the award.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. Yeah.
Well,
I know you don't take it. I know you don't take it, but
it's
yes.
for everybody.
Yeah. And personally for me, thank you for the work you do with the schools. Keep doing it.
Oh, thank you. I really
I can't wait for
appreciate that.
Jake's Disney trip this year. He's going to love it.
Well, look at the Newbridge Facebook group, because the page just gets spammed to death. You'll see a blow-by-blow account of here we are at the airport.
Well,
here we are on the rides.
I'm
here
sure.
we are,
I'm sure Anna will be should be all over that. Yeah.
Is that like 9 trips? Did you say that?
Well, we now, it's because we just do year 8 now. We're not doing Disney catch-up, so we do 3 trips. So there's 2 schools, Hollingwood and Hayward go.
Yep.
Then a week later, Thomas Ashton and Samuel Laycock go. And then what's better for our PMLD learners is that they go in the summer when there's warmer weather, and so that they go in June.
And it's not. Forgive me, but it's not like, oh, they shouldn't go, or they really. It's whoever wants to go goes, yeah, and then it's who can manage what, and it's worked out, you know, like, because Jake might be able to manage this, and I might not be able to manage that, and that it's kind of all done.
The logistics are off the charts, because you will literally go. Because when I've done it, I'm on teacups. Do you know what I mean? I'm on teacups.
I love teacups.
And teacups and going to shows. Do you know what I mean? And tears. You know what I mean? Tears, teacups, shows. That's me. You know what I mean? And that kind of it. And then we've got others where they're like, you go with the adrenaline junkies who are going to do nothing but the Tower of Terror on a loop, because you've got your passes, so you don't have to queue. So you are literally Tower of Terror, Tower of Terror.
Yeah. I mean, Jake's. I got in trouble the other day. Jake's passport arrived. He's never had a passport. He's never been out of the country. His passport arrived, and I thought, oh, his passport's there. I opened it, and Anna come home, and she's like, have you opened that? It's like, yeah, it's his passport. Paul was leaving it for Jake to open. I was like, oh, I didn't even think. I didn't even think. And it's you know, I'm like, go on, get out the door, off you go. And Anna's so nervous, because it's the first time he's leaving the country. He's not even with his mum and dad.
He'll be fine.
He'd
So,
be
yeah.
fine.
Oh, of course he
Honest
will.
to God.
He's honestly so lucky. Tell Anna that. I'm like, yeah, off you go, Jake.
They do. They have the time of their lives, and because we stay in villas, you know what I mean. They get to have little chats with all the friends in the lounge and things, having hot chocolates. And
Yeah,
things. It's gorgeous, gorgeous. And I'm so glad we fly now. We used to do coaches for all the trips, but for those who can, we fly now. And the airport was superb. Last year we did it, and it was like early dart, and so we went with the schools with the I took the travel agent with us. Hello, Dawn, if you're watching. She's neurodivergent as well, aren't we all? You know what I mean? And we waved them all off. And as we arrived, Manchester Airport assistants were gorgeous. And over the tannoys, they went, VIPs coming through. Can we make way for the VIPs coming through? And the children were like, do they mean me, miss? I'm like, they do. You're a VIP. Off you go.
Great.
With your sunflower little
really
lanyards, and they had a great time. And what I liked about the airports group, because we'd done all that, they phoned me up and they went, we've got Neurodiversity Celebration Week last year, and of course they own Stansted Airport and others, not just Manchester. Would I do a session on neurodivergent leadership to all of their senior managers? So we did that.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So many hats.
So many hats. You just don't know the minute you talk about it, it's the awakenings, and everyone goes, me too,
Light
me
bulb
too,
moment.
like that. And I kind of go, at one point I thought I was the only one. Do you know what I mean? I honestly thought I was the only one, the only OT in the village, and all the rest of it, I'm the only one and no one's going to believe me. And I'm like, can people stop telling me the life stories? I'm literally in Tesco doing my big shop. You know what I mean? That's lovely, but there's a time and a place.
It's not while you're in the bread aisle.
No.
So yeah, we'll wrap up there. Thank you again, Shirley. It's been
You're
a
very
real
welcome.
pleasure.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the opportunity.
Brilliant.
Sorry, just to bring you back from the credits, we haven't done In the Bin yet, so
Oh, in the bin.
roll the jingle. So Paul, what have you got this week for us in the bin?
In the bin?
Yeah.
Arsenal Fan TV.
Arsenal Fan TV.
No, goodness me, kick them out, get rid of them. See you in a bit.
So yeah,
Sorry, Shirley, I'm an Arsenal fan.
All right.
Yeah.
so he's I'll dig you out on this, and you'll dig me out in a second as well. But he's from a Manchester City supporting family, and he's the only Arsenal fan.
Oh, see, my
Shepherd.
husband's a diehard City fan.
Shepherd, not a sheep.
Yeah, there are pictures on Instagram of you in Manchester City tops. So Tyler, remind me, I'll send that to you. We'll overlay it. I think you're with Jake and Josh.
I was with my two boys, yeah. Come on.
Excuse me.
And what do your boys support?
Both Man City, yeah.
Oh, good lads, good lads.
My dad made sure of that, to be honest.
Did they get baby grows when they were born?
all the City stuff, yeah. City tours, City shirts, yeah. They got the lot.
And mine, we were talking about it before, but social media in the bin.
Yeah, you have, haven't you? You got rid of it.
Instagram, Facebook, X, Messenger, in the bin. WhatsApp will be next. I hate WhatsApp. I really hate WhatsApp. I hate your use of WhatsApp.
You hate the gifts.
Yeah.
He hates the gifts.
Shirley, what about yourself? I'm sure you've got a whole plethora of stuff you could throw in.
Yeah.
And people you could throw in as well.
Let's not go there.
I've got a few visuals. It's like that. I can remember Ally McBeal when she used to have the dumpster truck. I have those visuals that keep me going. I swear that right of Ally McBeal was neurodivergent. But that's a whole other thing, isn't it? I suppose for me, what I put in the bin would be, people assuming that neurodivergent adults don't exist.
Bin.
It's like, get over it. We're here, And I always joke, we're breeders. We're breeders. Where do you think all these kids have come from? We're breeders.
Yeah,
it's genetic. You know what I mean? So just get over it. Get over
Really,
it.
I like
know what
that.
I mean?
I like
Your
that.
surgeon in your hospital probably is. What you're talking about? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The head teacher of your mum's school back in the day probably was. What are you talking about? Get over it. Just get over it.
Like it.
Like it.
I like it. That's a good place to end. So we'll catch you on the next one.